I'm Johnny Phantom, and I talk about all things fandom, such as Harry Potter, Star Wars, Pokemon, whatever, you name it. Let's talk about it. Today we're talking about Harry Potter nonetheless. Harry Potter nonetheless. Now, if you're new here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let's talk about one of the greatest stories of all time. And let me ask you a question before we begin. How can a wizard break their bones? Obviously they can, but we know they can be fixed like that. And let me ask you this. Do you think Dumbledore knows a lot more than he's letting on? Let's get into today's video. So there's a theory out there basically saying that Dumbledore planned everything. Obviously, there's certain things that he could control, such as Prison of Azkaban, and the Goblet of Fire. Like, he didn't know that his name was going to be put in the Goblet of Fire, so he had to kind of, plan certain things out to make sure certain things happen, but he couldn't plan everything out. But with Dumbledore's big plan is that he basically planned everything out from Harry's childhood. Because of the prophecy, he knew something was going to happen. He knew from the moment that he heard that prophecy that this was going to happen. So once Harry was the one that was chosen, he started making his plans. As Snape says, "You're raising a pig for slaughter."
You've been raising him like a pig for slaughter.
So if Dumbledore has this plan, and he has these hunches that are most of the time true, whenever Harry asks him like a question like, how'd you know about it? He goes, I had a hunch, or I had a guess. We can only guess. We have a lot of guesswork with the whole, classes that Harry has with Dumbledore when they're trying to figure out the Horcruxes. It's a lot of guesswork. But Dumbledore's a smart man. He's been dealing with dark wizards for his entire life, and his guesswork is always true. So what if he has a lot more guesswork that we are led to believe? He assumes because Harry has a bit of Voldemort inside his soul with the backfiring of the Avada Kedavra, and he believes that some powers got transferred to him. So he assumes So, when we find out that Harry has a partial tongue, Voldemort even says, you have partial tongue because Lord Voldemort had partial tongue. And if I'm not mistaken, some of his power was bestowed onto you when his curse backfired. So, it's the only reason that Harry can speak partial tongue is because of that. I have another theory, by any chance, that they're actually related if you go back to the tree. But Harry can't speak partial tongue anymore after Voldemort's demise, so that theory's out the window. So it's just that part of soul that Voldemort left behind. Anyway, I had a feeling that in the first book, in chapter 3, I believe it is, when Harry goes to the zoo for Dudley's birthday, is a detrimental to the story. Detrimental. What's that word? It's very important to the story because it's where Harry learns that he can talk to snakes. And the only reason he goes to the zoo is because Mrs. Figg, quote unquote, broke her leg. I don't think so. So, the Dursleys obviously mistreat Harry tremendously and don't want to take him anywhere. They didn't want to take him to the zoo, but Mrs. Figg couldn't watch him because she tripped over one of her cats, which are actually cats but with measles, because she's a measles dealer and she sells magical cats. Yeah. So yeah, she's a squib. We know that. But she's still a witch. And she still has contacts. So, Mrs. Figg, quote unquote, broke her leg by falling over one of her cats, and therefore can't watch Harry. So, Harry has to go to the zoo, where he talks to a snake, and finds out he has parcel tongue. Which then, later in Chamber of Secrets, when Draco shoots a snake out of his wand, Harry's like, oh, it's a snake. Let me go talk to it. Because I can talk to snakes. And then Chamber of Secrets unfolds. Hermione figures out the voices he's hearing is a basilisk because the basilisk is a snake. So on and so forth. But before I continue, we're going to take a quick break. Raise your drink. Go to repsports.com. That's REPP sports.com. Use coupon code JohnnyHuey. Save yourself 15% off. This flavor is called White Peach. It is fantastic. And 0 sugar, 0 calories. It's just straight caffeine, vitamins, and amino acids. And no dyes. Which is that Dumbledore had a hunch that, let me see, I think Harry may have some abilities. I haven't fully met him yet because he hasn't started school yet, but I need to do some tests because Dumbledore's always testing him. Think about in Philosopher's Stone when they go down to the third floor corridor and go through all those tasks by the teachers to get, and when Harry is talking to Dumbledore in the hospital and he says, what about Nicholas Flamel? And Dumbledore says, oh, you did do the thing right. So Dumbledore is testing him the entire time. And that's the thing with the third floor corridor. Those tasks were designed for Harry, Hermione, and Ron. Ron's a great chess player. Hermione is a quick thinker, with the potions and with the and then obviously Harry with the broomstick to get the keys, because that's like a snitch thing, because he knew that he was gonna be a great snitch like his father. He could only guess. And then there's also the Devil's Snare. Dumbledore knew that Neville would be great at biology, so he set up Devil's Snare for that because he thought, he would join him. One task for each of them. But Neville instead stuck to his friends. So, Dumbledore plans out a lot of stuff and has a lot more knowledge about certain things. He is the greatest sorcerer in the world. And he has a plan for everything. So, he has a hunch that Harry may have the ability to talk to snakes.
Can you hear me?
So he wants to test him. And good thing he did, because if he didn't test him... So my theory is that Dumbledore, somehow knew that they were going to the zoo for Dudley's birthday. Because he's got spies. He's got ways of thinking about it. Even Mrs. Figg is like, oh, they're going to the zoo. Now, Mrs. Figg is definitely in contact with Dumbledore, because Mrs. Figg is planted there in Privet Drive to keep an eye on Harry his entire life. So she definitely has contact with Dumbledore and maybe some other wizards. Because she has to, because she sells her measles. And I also have a little side theory that one of her measles that she was, having at the house, she eventually gave to the emporium where Hermione picked up Crookshanks, because Crookshanks is part Measle. So what if Harry had met Crookshanks before being at Miss Figg's house? I'm getting a little sidetracked here. Let's get back to... So Mrs. Figg is basically spying on Harry and communicating certain things with Dumbledore. Dumbledore knows that the Dursleys mistreat Harry, like, tremendously. So Dumbledore wants Harry to, have some fun at the same time. But what better way to let him have fun and also test him? So Mrs. Figg sends a letter to Dumbledore. Says, hey, they're going to the zoo for Dudley's birthday. And Dumbledore goes, great. Tell me broke your leg. Yes, Dumbledore told Mrs. Figg to lie about breaking her leg so that Harry would be forced to go to the zoo. Because Dumbledore had a hunch. You go to the zoo, you see a snake. He wanted to see what the reaction would be. Now, of course, Dumbledore doesn't even know that Harry talked to the snake until Chamber of Secrets, when he says, I'm partial tongue. But I'll get back to that in a second. So, if Dumbledore did not tell Mrs. Figg to lie about her leg, you're telling me a witch breaks her leg and can't get it fixed? Yes, Mrs. Figg is a squib. However, she has contacts. We know she's been communicating with Dumbledore. She breaks her leg, Dumbledore will, right there in a second, take Madame Pomfrey with her, mend her bones real quickly, and be on his way. Unless she did do that and talk to Dumbledore, and Dumbledore was like, no, you broke your leg. We'll come by and fix it, but just tell the Dursleys you broke your leg. So either way, Dumbledore told Mrs. Figg to tell the Dursleys that she broke her leg. Either if she actually did, or if she didn't, she was told to not take Harry that day when they went to the zoo. Because Dumbledore just wanted to see what would happen if he came in contact with the snake. And he wouldn't have found out what happened until Harry was like, oh yeah, I talked to a snake when I was a kid. Unless, there's another theory that I have that I'm going to talk about later, but Mrs. Figg was at the zoo and saw Harry talk to the snake. So Dumbledore already knows that Harry could talk to snakes. Dumbledore knew Harry was a partial tongue before he went to school. Now, let's go back to analyze this, that this had to be planned out. Obviously, Dumbledore didn't know the Chamber of Secrets was going to be open, but if Dumbledore didn't do his test to find out how much of Voldemort was in him and to figure out, the Horcruxes, everything else that's planned that he had, so Harry would be raised like a pig for slaughter to fight Voldemort in the end. If he didn't do this test, if Harry went to Mrs. Figg's that day instead of going to the zoo, he never would have talked to the snake. which means in Chamber of Secrets, when Draco casts his
Serpent sortier!
snake, and the snake starts serving towards people, Harry's not going to have his perfection go, oh, let me go talk to a snake. He's not going to think about it. If the snake, happened to say something to Harry, and maybe Harry will understand it, like, I can talk to you, people are going to be like, what the heck? So we might find out that way, but it'll be a lot more different. But if you remember, as soon as the snake comes out, it starts going towards, what was his name? So the snake goes towards Justin from the Fetchery. Harry walks up and talks to it from behind. Because he knows he's talking to snakes. And the snake, stops. In this case, the snake comes out, goes to Justin from the Fetchery, and Snape will come by and then try to get rid of it, and then Lockhart will try to get rid of it and just flies up in the air and comes down, or Snape eventually actually gets rid of it. So now at this point, Harry has no idea he talks to snakes. So he hears these voices in the wall, and the voices that a wizard should not be hearing voices in the wall. So Hermione is not going to be able to piece together that Harry can talk to snakes. He is the only one that can hear this voice in the wall. It's basket. So they never open Chamber of Secrets and never save Ginny. And that would be tragic, because that means Voldemort would be in the embodiment of his 17-year-old self, and would possibly find some way to return to his former self and regenerate that part of the soul so that Voldemort could have a body. And that's how that would work. Either way, Ginny would be dead. They'd have to close the school, and it'd be terrible. However, Hermione may piece together some of the other clues, like the spiders, the roosters. She might piece that together, although she wasn't there for the spiders. But she did know about the roosters being killed. So when she did her research, she might have guessed. And she did see spiders kind of crawling away. She didn't visit Aragog like Ron and Harry, but she's pretty smart. She might have pieced together. But I think that one clue that she figured it was a basilisk is the whole Parselmouth thing. So if Dumbledore never tested him at a young age, Harry would not know that he could talk to snakes and just thought he was hearing voices and going mad. Because no one else can hear it. So yes, Dumbledore plans everything out throughout the books. So I want you to comment down below your thoughts on Dumbledore's plan. What else do you think that he planned? And hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that join button, because I got content on there just for you. And check out my merch shelf down below. I got lots of different cool fandom gear that you will enjoy. See you guys next time. Before you go, check out that video down below. And I'll see you guys next time.